have the components of metal, but the attitude isn't there. The whole, like, I'm a musician. I'm going to fucking play what I'm going to fucking play, and I'm going to plug in. I'm going to put a microphone up to an amplifier. And I'm like, how could you go and justify giving something like that a positive review while going in a band that's recording everything live, that's recording all the instruments, real instruments, without doing any sort of drum replacement or amp replacement, without doing any sort of post-production tricks, using real instrumentation? You're going to give it a poor review because the production wasn't $100,000 type of sound? Are you kidding me? Right. So we're getting that a lot, and that's why I got really frustrated with some of the the media out there, because a lot of them, they don't come from the same sort of old school background as us. Maybe, and the funny thing is the old school people, the people who've been around since the early 90s, they're the ones who are the most receptive and the most supportive to what we're doing, and the younger community, it has been spotty, and I'm not going to lie about that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this, but it's been spotty, and it's all been because of the, quote, production quality, which has been deliberate. I deliberately recorded the guitars in an unfavorable way to go and get a little bit more edge and a little bit more grit to the sound, which I happen to be happy with the sound because it matches up with the gritty brass and it matches up with the gritty timpani that we have. Right. So it works. But a lot of people didn't necessarily appreciate that because they're so used to hearing stuff.
You still there?
That sounds like so completely doctored. It's like the difference. Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You got me, man?
Yep.
Okay. Because they're so used to. I mean, it's like the difference between like real boobs and fake boobs. If you've never actually like touched a real breast and you're so used to the fake breast, you think that they're like the greatest things ever, and then all someone's like, "Here, look, real boobs." You're like, "Ah, man, they're not hard enough." What?
It's like you almost have to put a disclaimer on your CD that this production was an intentional sound. But I mean, I didn't even take notice to that at all. So I mean, I listened to it for the music aspect of it. I don't really, I've made some pretty bad recordings in my time. So.
Well, you also come from a different background because we grew up with. Carcass, Necroticis, and Descanting the Insalubrious, and that was like one of the great albums of the early 90s. And I mean, low budget production. I mean, you want to talk about something that's difficult to listen to, but it was brilliant. I mean, every aspect of that album, from the songwriting to the drum playing, the vocals, the lyrics, matched perfectly with how it was recorded and how it was mixed. And I mean, I could never imagine going back into the studio and redoing it and coming up with the same quality. So you see, so much of the quality of the sound comes from real musicians playing real music and playing real metal, and I appreciate that more. And you can hear it sometimes. And I think a lot of the newer types of recordings. There are some exceptions. I think the recent recordings from Suffocation, going back to when they put the self-titled album, I think that they're, again, going back to Suffocation, they set the standard. So, but I do appreciate bands that go and they actually, what you're listening to is what they actually recorded. And that's a really big deal for me because, like I said, man, if I was going to go and program this stuff in Cubase and record everything direct and resample the drums, you have no idea how much easier my life would be.
Right.
I mean, I would have an album out every 6 months, but doing it the harder way is much more rewarding personally because you're a musician, and if you're a musician, you want to go and achieve your musical goals. And my musical goal is not to go and get in front of Cubase or Ableton or Pro Tools and press a button and there's my music. That's not why I got into this, man. I got into this for the blood, sweat, and the tears, and to climb that mountain and to say, hey, you know something? I just recorded Chimbasso for the first time in the history of death metal. I put a microphone up to a Giuseppe Verdi opera instrument and recorded it over a fucking blast beat.
That's funny. I love it.
You know something?
So you touched on the recording process there. So is this, do you have your own studio, or is this something you take into, a professional studio?
Right. It's a little bit of a combination of of both. Everything that you heard on the last EP, the Serpentine Deception, I recorded either in our rehearsal studio or in my house. I cleared out one room that had vaulted ceilings, and I recorded the timpani and the brass. And that's how we get a little bit more echo on the brass. But moving forward, we're going to be taking a different approach as far as where we're recording the brass, because I'm selling the house. So we need to kind of take a different approach on that. And I recorded the guitars and the vocals and the drums at our rehearsal studio. And we got a new rehearsal studio now that is soundproofed or has sound reinforcement, and we're probably going to record everything there with the exception of the brass. But the brass and the timpani are completely different animals, because the room sound plays into the actual sound of the brass recording. But the guitars, the drums, the bass, the vocals, maybe even some of the hand percussion and didgeridoo we can do all at the rehearsal studio. But I had to take a lot of this stuff on the road, so I have a Zoom R24. Actually, I have two of them, and we use that to record everything, because I can bring it. It's basically a portable studio. I can go any place in the world with it and plug in 8 microphones and go nuts. So I had to go and create something that was mobile, because when we first started this, I didn't actually own timpani. And timpani are extremely expensive. A good set goes for about $20,000. So I had to get timpani, and I was able to get some ding and dent specials, so to speak. And when we record the timpani now, we can record them just about anywhere because we have the timpani. But on the very first recording, I had to go to a music school, not a music school, I had to go to a music department of a high school. And for 4 days, they let us go in there and set up. And I had to go and turn the entire percussion room into a percussion recording studio in a matter of hours. So whatever it takes to get the stuff done, but we have to be mobile, because I don't know where we're going to be recording the brass for the next recording, whether we're going to do it at the studio or we're going to do it at like on location somewhere, maybe at like an actual brass sound stage. So I have to be mobile, so I have to have a device I can go and put in a suitcase and take with me and take it out and be ready to record in 10 minutes.
Gotcha.
So it's a combination of being mobile and having a home base.
Nice. Yeah, that's it, because I'm sure it's a process in any stretch of the means. So, but I'm getting close to going into the second segment here. So I want to ask about the name. What is that derived from? MARKRADONN.
That's still a secret, and I don't want to get past the first album before I start talking about it. So ask me again in a year.
All right, I'll keep that on my calendar. But as far as getting a hold of you guys and picking up the CD and the EP and where they can find out about all your shows, where can we find you?
Facebook. It's facebook.com/MARKRADONN, MARKRADONN. 2 N's at the end. That's where you can find, that's kind of like our internet home base. And you can see some videos on there of some of the shows that we have. We have more videos we're going to be posting up. Our new CD is called The Serpentine Deception. We also have a DVD, and I have a few copies left. It's called Brass Metal Live, and it has 2 full shows. And it has a couple of kind of bonuses on there. We have a special right now where it's I think it's like a CD, a hat, and a T-shirt for like $30 shipped. So if anybody's interested in that, get in touch with us. And the DVD, we have a package where you can get the DVD and the CD for like $20 or $25 shipped.
Cool.
So, but the DVD is awesome. I'm really proud of that one because I recorded and edited that entire thing myself, and it was kind of like a learn as you go sort of thing. And it took me maybe just 3 or 4 days to go and get it done, which surprised the hell out of me as to how fast I was able to get it done. But right. But yeah, the DVD is something that we're really proud of too, and we have like about maybe 25 copies left, and that's it. It's not going to be reprinted.
Cool. Yeah. So I definitely watch some of the live videos. Usually a week or 2 before the show I start. Especially if it's a new band, and you're relatively new to my world and the show. So I was watching videos on YouTube of the live show. So it's definitely an interesting concept. I'm definitely a fan of what you're doing. So I definitely appreciate you calling into the show, taking the time. I know it was booked for a while. I was pretty much booked up. I got a few more interviews left, and I'm taking a little break. But other than that, yeah, I know it was a while to get you on the show, but I definitely appreciate the patience and, you calling in. You're definitely a talkative guest and made my job very easy. So you pretty much filled in. I was checking off like my little questions as you were talking. I'm like, all right, he got that. He got that. He got that. So, but it was definitely awesome talking to you. And, anything you want to promote, any shows, any new music coming up, just anything at all, you're more than welcome to call into the show anytime. Usually I leave the second half open for stuff like that. So if you got anything, you can just shoot me a message and say, hey, can I call in? And anytime you want to come on, you absolutely got it.
Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support. And internet radio has been probably the most important aspect of our promotion, and that's one thing that I really like about the internet is that it gives people an opportunity to have a voice, and internet radio has been absolutely incredible. And I want to encourage everybody out there who is listening to check out internet radio and to support DJs such as yourself and stations, because it's tough. I mean, what you're doing isn't necessarily an easy thing. It's time consuming. You take money out of your own pocket sometimes to do it. And there's not a lot of credit and there's not a lot of glory. But I'll tell you, you guys are the ones who are really the driving force behind the underground and extreme music right now, because you are the voice and the kind of go-between for the fans. Because without internet radio right now, I think a lot of bands would be hurting. And I think people take for granted how great internet radio has been for underground music.
Right.
And I think it could create a movement and a revolution if people stick with it.
Right.
And I really appreciate all the support and all the fans out there listening. I appreciate your support as well. And get out there and keep supporting the show and support underground do-it-yourself bands and bands that are not sucking the corporate teat, so to speak.
Right. That's why, I have a lot of independent bands on, which I took that route because of the hunger and wanting to get out there and wanting to promote and do all of these things to work with me. Because, I don't have the biggest fan base in the world, but you know what? Those core people that listen mean a lot to me and to the show. And there's a lot of garbage out there that makes it hard for someone to want to find actually a good internet radio show, because it's like being in a band. You got to dig through all the bullshit to find the gem. And most people that start to listen to the show become a fan. So it's definitely a lot of work. It definitely costs a lot of money, but in the end, the outcome for me is great to know that I made some type of mark supporting independent music. So I would have loved to have had, when I was in a band touring around back in the 90s and shit, for someone to have a show and have me on. I mean, I've done my fair share of that stuff, but not to the degree where I can get out there to all different types of people. We just didn't have this avenue. I mean, it was still floppy disks, for Christ's sake. So, but yeah, no, it's definitely a good feeling. I appreciate the support, and no one has to call into the show or book an interview with me. But it's just. Well,
yeah, let me tell you, man. Like, seriously, it's been a pleasure. I know when I first got on, I was a little tired and I was kind of unconscious. But yeah, I'm always up for it, man. It's just like I said, it's just. When you have an opportunity to speak with somebody on their radio show and they're doing it because they love doing it, the experience is worth the time. And everybody out there, go out there and support internet radio. And look, I'm looking at my Skype account now, and the whole left side of my screen are all internet radio DJs. I installed Skype specifically on my computer so I could go in and call in and talk with internet radio DJs. But look, if MARKRADONN becomes successful at some point, meaning like, something where I can actually make money doing this, It's going to be because of the internet radio station supporting us, and I'm not going to lie about that.
Right.
The success of my band is contingent on the success of